Welcome back. In the last session, we have seen a situation where, though we know that this is the same local mission, still we are unable to push our module, which earlier we could able to push it because of the connection type as local. Now that we have attributed it, if you see in the inventory file, we have attributed with respect to the local host, we have used the connection type as local. Whereas this machine, we never told the Ansible whether the connectivity should be local either here, nor we are specifying anything in the inventory file. At least with respect to the local host, we are specifying in the inventory file itself the connection type is local. Whereas here we are not telling anything. That's why it is unable to connect. That means though it is the local server, it is still treating that as equivalent to any remote server. So this requires us to first check with whether connectivity is possible. This is the local machine. We know ping works. Even with the remote, I'll repeat the same procedure later. And SSH, if I try it with the username as DevOps at the rate ANSI machine, observe it is asking for the password, and you can see here this time it is not remembering, it's not entering anything into that fingerprint because it is already a known host, unlike what happened earlier when I was trying to access the same thing. It was mentioning here, do you want to remember it, do you want me to know about it, are you sure you want to connect? So here it was entering that information into what is called as, what I earlier mentioned it as known host. I don't know where exactly is that. Maybe much more behind. Anyway, let me show it to you here. ls hyphen a uh, slash home slash DevOps. You can see here is .ssh folder, and it is under this .ssh folder. You have the known host, and if you open that content, known host, if I cat it, sorry, cat, you can see here it remembers both the server's local host as well as ANSI mission. Now let's come back. Because of this reason, it knows it. But let me come back to this. SSH connectivity is possible. I just come back from that SSH connectivity. And if I go back here to this Ansible ANSI mission hyphen yum ping, it is still behaving like this. So I'm adding few more extra flags. Hyphen K is to prompt for the password, and I'm also specifying the username DevOps. Often this may not be required because you are already logged in as the same username. So even if you don't specify it, still it will work, but don't get cheated. Let's use it as part of the procedure because with the remote machines it is necessary. So it is asking for the password, it is prompting for the password, and if I specify the password, you can see now it is working. But of course, I can't keep specifying the password every time whenever I'm doing any configuration. This time I'm just pushing a ping module. But every time I cannot go on giving the password. So what is the other alternative? For that, keeping Ansible on one side, we need to work out on our SSH. So here if I come back to this SSH connectivity, each time I'm trying to make an SSH connectivity, it is asking me for the password. And if I don't specify the password properly, it will not be able to connect. Observe the change in the prompt. Localhost, here it is ANSI machine. So let me just return from this. Now what I'll do is, as I just earlier specified to you, ls slash home devops .ssh folder. You know there is only known host, and SSH connectivity is remembering it here. But of course, it requires a password. How can I make this SSH connectivity passwordless? To do that, I'll going to create a key pair. Now you will going to see that key pair being created here. I'll use the command SSH keygen. SSH keygen is the command. It is asking me whether I can create a private public key pair, and that key pair will go into this particular folder in this particular file name id underscore RSA. It will go into this particular folder. I'm just pressing enter. I'm not specifying anything. It will be assumed as yes. And it is asking me whether you want to associate that with any passphrase. No, I don't want to give any pass because that will be something like a password again. Okay, no passphrase. And now if you observe, you will see that there is a key pair here where this is the private key and this is the public key. Now what we'll do is we'll push this public key into the same machine. The way in which I'll going to do that is SSH copy ID hyphen I. I'll specify where that is available slash home slash DevOps. Let me just type 1 minute. Yeah, DevOps slash dot SSH slash ID RSA. I'm pushing the public key slash home DevOps dot SSH ID RSA public key. I'll go and push it to this server, which I'm trying to do SSH earlier. It was asking for the password. So I'll take the same server signature, DevOps at the rate Ansible. So I'll specify that here. After the command, I'm copying public key which I just generated. I'm pushing it to the same server. First time when I'm trying to push the public key to that server, keep the private key with me. I'm keeping the private key with me under the .ssh folder. This has nothing to do with Ansible. This is completely SSH related knowledge. We are trying to make SSH passwordless. Keeping the private key with me, I'm trying to push the public key here. Okay, I'll specify the password. Okay, it is successfully pushed. And now if you try to do the same SSH connectivity like we did earlier, observe it is not asking for any password. I just try to do SSH connectivity. It is not asking me, unlike in the past where it was asking for the password. It is not asking for any password. Now let me tell you this knowledge is used in the cloud servers. Because when you get an access to a cloud server, you will get a user ID. You are going to get key. Now the key what you get is basically the private key. What you get is a private key because that cloud server is already embedded with a corresponding public key. When the cloud server providers, whether it's AWS or any cloud service provider, when they create a virtual machine for you, when they create a cloud machine for you, they'll put this, they'll create a key pair, they'll put this public key inside that machine for which they have the password access, and they will supply you this private key. And keeping that key with you, you can make a remote login without using any password. That's the reason why whenever you are trying to access any cloud server, you don't require any password. You can directly connect to any cloud server through SSH provided you have this key with you. So it's the same concept. So now you can see that I could able to connect. So let me just come out of this connectivity and let me just go back here. Ansible, Ansible mission yum. Remember earlier we had used hyphen k for prompting password and the username. Now you no longer require any of them. You can connect to the machine without any password. Exactly same procedure. We will going to use it for connectivity to the remote machine, which I'll going to show it to you in the next video. So here, remember, first we ping the server, then we check SSH connectivity to the server, and then There is no need to generate private public key for every time. Once you generate is enough. Just put the key into any number of servers. Ping it, SSH it, and then push the public key into that so that you get a passwordless SSH access to that server. Then you will be able to push the ping module into that server. We'll go into see about that in the next video.